I think we are in the midst of a collective rite of passage. It's a rare thing. I mean, I've been alive for a while, and the only thing I saw that had the qualities that are present right now was the mid 60s, when there was like that youth revolution of the 60s. And people didn't know how to explain it or how to handle it, and it never got finished. It actually dissolved, and what happened was another usual world, came into form. So that's an unfinished version of it. We're in the middle of it, I think. So to me, the crises in the world are all aligned, like vertically aligned. Because you have the climate crisis, which involves the entire planet, as people say, and everyone on the planet, even those who are denying that it's happening, are involved in it anyway. And then if you come down recently, you get the COVID pandemic, which has affected the whole world. They just figured over 4 million people died. And you hear death, and that's resonant to the psyche as first step of initiation. But those line up, and then the next one, we mentioned George Floyd, the next one is Black Lives Matter, and every human life matters in a way that people are not understanding so far. And there you have your justice issues and your issues of economic justice and so on. And then the other one that's really clear is the crisis of truth and meaning, because you have all kinds of the big lie here in the United States. You have the big lie. It's great. When something becomes like that, that's the symptom. And the value of it, it tells you the nature of the cure. That is to say, the cure for the big lie is a bigger truth. And so I think we're in this collective rite of passage that involves those kind of crises, which in a sense involve everyone. And George Floyd's death and the things that happened subsequently are proof of it. He's an American person suffering a particular American, illness of racism, but something about it was so human that it went to all kinds of people who are having a different experience, but everybody can understand, I can't breathe. And it's as if we're all George Floyd. We can't breathe in the current circumstances. We have to find a new breath. Breath has always been associated with spirit, the essence of life. So I think if you imagine a rite of passage or an initiation as having 3 steps, the separation, we're in separation so much. Things falling apart. Every issue that comes up becomes divided into opposition. That's called separation. Separatio, it's called in alchemy. And then the middle ground is the ground of the ordeal and the healing. Both of those are in the middle. And it's usually called the liminal step, limen being the lower part of a threshold in a doorway, as if we're all on a threshold. And the world that we used to know or think we knew is gone. The people trying to go back they're on the threshold, but they're sitting on it backwards. Some of us are like the old woman in the cave on the threshold looking forward, waiting for the thread, waiting for the vision or the thread of vision that's going to be our part in it. The middle ground is where everything happens. It's where the vision returns. It's where the healing can happen. But it requires not knowing. This is a big challenge to the heroic sense of life. That is to say, in order to find out what's the important thing to do as an individual and as part of the collective, we have to acknowledge we don't know what to do. Not knowing is the step before learning. And so we're in that liminal, uncertain, we don't know stage. And what you were referring to is there's a final stage, which is a return with conscious recognition and appreciation and demonstration of all that has been learned, and that people have actually transitioned or transformed and entered a new stage or phase of life, which is what we're all looking for, which could be seen as the next phase of the world and the next phase of humanity, hopefully being more humane. But I don't think we can rush to that 3rd step. I think the tension of opposites is the indication of where we need to be now. The purpose of opposites is not to pull things apart. It's to generate enough tension and momentum so something creative happens. The world is born out of a tension between light and dark. That's creation myths. and we're in that again. So to me, the richness is in the middle, the complications are in the middle, and the more we can tolerate being in this middle that's full of creative tension, the more people will get their own vision of what's next. And I'm working with the idea of an enormous threshold, a threshold of change that everybody is on, including those people that don't want to be there, because it's going to take this kind of humanity-based tension in order to create enough energy for people to see how to handle, how to heal, and how to make their way into the next phase of the world. And then, or maybe we could practice before then we need the rituals of return. Like in the United States now, as everybody's talking about returning to social life and all, but it's very mundane what people are doing. What people are longing for is not mundane. It's really for this big embrace that says we all survived a brush with death, and says, but at the same time, we all realize that we're here to do meaningful things, and we want to have that part of us embraced. So there's this, I think, whole need to relearn what ritual means and how it works if we're going to find ways for meaningful healing, and then ways for receiving and the return of those who have become healed, or those who have found a vision, or I don't know exactly how to describe it. We have to relearn that business of ritual of return. So another way to understand what's going on collectively, we're on a collective vision quest. And the vision is, how do I and how do we see the next world? Because until we can envision it, we cannot get to work on making it. And the vision can't be a strategic plan. I'm sorry. That's too much logos. We're past strategic planning. We're in the great unknown. We're in the intense uncertainty of liminality. Find your place on the threshold. That's what I've been saying lately. Find your place on the threshold, because it's all trying to change.